Hello, and welcome to the Dr. Zoss Show. Today, we're going to hear from our guest, Raskolnikov, who wrote the novel Crime and Punishment while he was in prison. But first, speaking about a crime, it would be a crime if you didn't hear a message from one of our many sponsors. First off, Tide, to get your tough stains out. Now, let's hear a warm welcome for Raskolnikov.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. So, Raskolnikov, tell us about your book.
Well, I wrote about my experiences in prison and my life before that and what led up to those events, called Crime and Punishment by Raskolnikov. Anyway, it's mostly about my psychological experience and what I went through, the guilt when I murdered these two women that I knew named Alyona and Lizaveta.
Oh, so you killed two women. Tell us a little about that.
Well, that was a little awkward. So I would bring things to a pawn broker named Alyona Ivanovna, and she was pretty awful. She put a lot of people on the street, so I felt, it was my duty, and that I had the ability as a human being to get rid of this vile human being in our world. But unfortunately, her sister had walked in right after I had knocked her sister on the head with the axe, and let's just say, instead of one murder, it became two.
Well, did you confess, or did someone catch you doing it?
Well, there was an investigator named Porfiry, and he was aware, he was pretty sure I did it, even though he didn't have any empirical evidence that I did it. He had like this suspicion just because I fit the psychological profile, since I was I was very sick, I was being very isolated, and I even passed out at a police station at one point. So he had a pretty good idea that I had done it. But I think it was also the love of my life, Sonia. She's my love of my life, and I don't even know her. I haven't seen her in like 8 years, though. But she convinced me to confess because that was the only way I was going to be able to redeem myself as a human being.
Ooh, so I see we have a love interest. Tell us about her.
Well, her name is Sonia Marmoladov, and she's great. She's very in tune with her religion, and she's a Christian, and she's actually helped me find my faith in God, and she's just wonderful. She went through a rough patch. She's gone from a very difficult upbringing, but I think it's made her stronger as a person, and I love the person that she is today.
That's sweet. So why did you decide to write Crime and Punishment?
I think I wrote it because at the time there wasn't really anything that talked about, the psychological effects of murdering someone. I just deteriorated as a human being. My health and my mentality, it's just everything about me deteriorated due to my guilt. It just destroyed me, and I felt like I could write. As I was a law student and I went to school, and I felt like I could really portray that if I went in writing that book. $9.99.
Oh, so that's interesting. But my audience really wants the details on the murders.
Okay, so I could actually read you something from my book, $9.99. So what happened was, I chopped her face in half with an axe at the end.
Okay.
No, but in all seriousness, what happened was, I had been watching her apartment and how her complex was set up, because I wanted to steal a lot of the things that people pawned to her, so I could sell them and maybe give the money back to some people in need or something like that. And so I had gone there. She let me into her apartment because I was bringing her another thing to pawn, and she turned around, and I had an axe hanging on inside of my long coat. I took it out and I smashed her head in half. It didn't explode. It wasn't really gross, but it was pretty gross. And then her sister had come in. I was taking the pawn items. Her sister was there. She couldn't even speak. She was so horrified, mortified. It was awful, but I couldn't leave her. She would have been a witness, so I had to do what I had to do. I didn't feel so awful about killing Alyona. That's why I chose her, was because I knew she was already a terrible person to begin with, but Lizaveta was so kind and sweet and very soft-spoken and very pure that I felt like when I murdered her, I violated that purity that she had, and it felt so wrong. Actually, Sonia reminds me a lot about Lizaveta, just that very innocence, that purity, and I think that's why I'm attracted to Sonia in that way.
Those are some very interesting points, Mr. Raskolnikov. But now it's time to hear from some of our other guests I'm sure you're very familiar with. Now here comes Rasmussen, Polchera, and Donya. Mother! 8 years from that one phone call? I thought you were dead. My little rascal murderer.
Sister! Friend! Do you have any idea how Mother felt? She was heartbroken.
Sorry about that. She's a little emotional.
It's nice to see you all.
Too long. At least Raskolnikov was here to take care of us.
We got married. We wanted to send you an invite, but we didn't know what address to send it to. How could you not tell us? How could you be so selfish? We had to find out from Raskolnikov. We're your family. We could have helped you, but you push us aside every time.
I gave you money and you wasted on some girl.
I was trying to help them, Mother.
But you needed help, and you wasted money like you could afford it. We've seen the closet you live in.
I just wanted to do something to repay for my misdeeds. Like how I stopped you from that marriage. You can't marry him.
And why can't I?
Listen, Donya, you don't have to do this for me. He's not the charming man you think he is. I don't need your help. So don't marry Pyotr Petrovich.
No.
You? Stop me? Brother, you thought I was marrying him because of you. Not once did you think I was marrying him for my own needs. I thought if I would marry him, I would help the family, not just you.
Well, he didn't deserve you anyway.
Oh.
Your sister's right. Well, how could you be so selfish? All we were trying to do was help you. I offered you a job, money. I came and put spoonfuls of soup in your mouth, and all you did was run away and sleep all day. How could you? You left your family, and I was left to pick up the scraps of their relationships and take care of them these long 8 years you've been in prison. And I was ashamed. Of what? When I murdered those women, I thought all my problems would disappear, but they just continued to pile up. And I thought that if I accepted help from you or anyone, it would be like accepting failure. I wanted to be the hero.
Hero? All you wanted to do was be the hero? My poor son. What poverty has driven you to do? We're here for you now.
I guess I wanted to be extraordinary, like Napoleon.
And what did murdering those women reveal instead?
That I'm not the hero and I'm not cut out to be one.
Is there something you'd like to say to your family?
Yes. I'm sorry for how I treated you. I know you all had the best intentions, but I mean, in the end I was kind of right. You were all doing those things for me. And I wanted to be an independent person and be that hero, but in the end, none of us are really superior than any of the others. And I needed to realize that, although it took about 8 years of prison to do so. So I'm sorry for the way I treated you and how I ostracized you and tried to isolate myself. Can you ever forgive me? Well, I guess you were sick. I'll put this one behind me.
My son's come back to us, Jesus Almighty!
Of course we can forgive you. We're family.
How nice. It's always great to see a family make up after an 8-year-long argument. Now, it's time to meet Raskolnikov's love interest, Sonia.
Hello.
Sonia!
Hi.
I missed you so much!
Thanks for having me on the show.
Didn't know you were going to be here.
How did you first react to when Raskolnikov first told you about his crime?
It was a bit of a surprise. I mean, this man helped my family, but he murdered 2 women. Fortunately, the money he gave us was not from those women.
Why did he tell you and not his family?
He believed we both sinned.
What was your sin?
I was a prostitute, but I did it to help my family. See, my dad was drinking the money away, so I needed a way to earn money, and this was the solution.
I see.
But I didn't think our sins were the same. He compared my sin to his, murdering 2 women, but they weren't the same.
They both are sinful. But how are they not the same? Why did he think they were the same?
I was doing it to support my family. I didn't have a choice. My stepmother would throw me out of the house if I didn't find any form to provide money. But he didn't have to murder those 2 women. I think he doesn't even know why he murdered those 2 women. He kept saying that he wanted to give the money, but he hid the money and the little trinket under a rock. That's not helping anyone. His sin was selfish. Mine was not.
I think I hid the gifts or the money I got under the rock because I felt guilty. And I mean, I murdered those women to prove that I would feel guilty, so I could prove that I was somehow above the law. But in the end, I did feel that guilt down deep into my core, and I think I would spend time with you to try and alleviate that guilt, and I would give you that money so I could hide how awful I truly felt on inside for what I did.
I see. You know what's a sin? How good this Sprite tastes.
Okay. Anyway, I read him the story of Lazarus, and he confessed. I believe he had the need to confess to me because we both made mistakes. We both sinned, except mine was a bit more necessary. This man helped my family, and for that I am grateful. I repaid his generosity by helping him confess. At first he refused, but when I gave him this cross, well, similar to this cross that I bear on my neck, he confessed, because that shows that I forgave him for this mistake, and that I still love and accept him even though he murdered 2 women. And others can too, if he just confessed, and he did.
I don't know if you ever know this, but after you told me that, I left your apartment, and I went into the middle of Haymarket Square, and I went down between the crossroads, and I kissed the ground, and I said, I'm a murderer. And I said, please, God, forgive me. And I believe he did, because he gave me you.
So you changed his heart. You made him this better person he is today. Bless you, Sonia.
I told him I would wait by his side, and I would always be there for him, and I'm just glad he did the right thing and confessed at the police station.
Well, that's all for...
Wait! There's one thing I need to do. I'm not harsh, murder, I hate a harsh, I'm how to hurt a person, I'm a guy that need a harsh, boy, yeah! I had everything.
So much money. And you murdered me just to hide it away?
Alyona, Elizabeth, it's so great to see you. I'm glad you're back from the dead.
I brought you back to apologize for what I've done.
Oh,
it's okay,
Raskolnikov.
Raskolnikov.
It's not okay.
Not okay.
I understand why you murdered me. You were envious of me, of my riches. But my sister, why?
I panicked. It was the heat of the moment, and she was a witness, and I couldn't have any witnesses.
Idiot. You were never good at anything. You always brought me useless trinkets, and you expected 5 kopecks from them. Ha! How could you possibly do such a task? Murder. And you just left me there, ran away like a scared little boy.
Never mind that. I realize now I know what I did was wrong.
Yeah, like that's gonna bring me back.
I didn't do anything wrong.
Hush now, you didn't deserve this. I didn't deserve this.
You cheated innocent people out of their money. You made people end up in the streets. So I don't feel bad for what I did to you. I did a service to this world.
Why her death?
Well, I didn't mean to kill her. She was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. I wanted to prove that I was somehow extraordinary and I wouldn't feel this guilt, but I did. And I guess at the end of the day, I'm just ordinary and not like anyone else.
Oh, boo-hoo. You had to kill my sister to realize you weren't special.
Just accept his forgiveness. It's been 8 years, Alyona. Can you forgive me?
I'm not satisfied. I want all my money back.
Well, you don't need your things because you're a ghost.
No, I cannot be put to rest without my trinket.
You know what? You don't need the trinket. You don't need all that.
I want that trinket. I want my gold rings. I want that money. I want my fur coat. What?
Stop.
Well, this has certainly been an interesting evening, but I'm afraid that's all we have time for. We are on a time limit and have a small budget. End it.
Kaylee's the bell, Alyona. Time for you to go. It's been great.
Well, as we say today, even the worst can find redemption. I'm Dr. Zoss, signing off.